Okay, hi everybody. Welcome. My name is Assad Butt. I am the director of partnerships and ventures at Kinship. We'll get into what Kinship is. Thanks for joining this informational webinar about Leap Venture Studio and the Academy. I'm going to be going through this presentation. Amy can't join us today. She had some small emergencies to take care of. So you just got me, but if you have questions specifically for her, feel free to shoot them over to me and I can relay them to her. But hopefully we'll answer most of your questions today. Oops. Sorry. So Amy and I are going to be we're going to be your host. Now it's just me. Just some housekeeping for those of you who have not joined us before on a webinar. We're going to do about 30 minutes of our presentation, and then we'll have 30 minutes of Q&A, but it looks like we have a small group, so feel free to chime in as we're doing this. You can either unmute yourself or you can put a question in the chat window. That's totally fine. I believe you all can unmute and mute yourself. And just a reminder, this session is being recorded. Sarah, thanks for joining us. Good to see you. My dog loves your snacks. Okay. And so let's get started. So about Leap Ventures, you are all here to kind of figure out what we are doing. So basically we started last year, late last year, and we realized as a group that Petcare startups across the country, across the world needed support at the ground level and that there was an underinvestment in what was happening. And so we created Leap Ventures. It's one of the first programs designed to ignite meaningful growth across the Petcare startup ecosystem. So startups like yourselves. And it was a joint venture between Mars Petcare and Michelson Found Animals. We'll get into both of those in just a second. We have two main programs, and just so you're aware, we're going to be diving deep into both of them, the Leap Venture Academy and the Leap Venture Studio. If you have questions about those, feel free to ask as we're going. But we'll do deep dive into the two of those things. And so, yeah, it's a partnership between Michelson Found Animals and Kinship, and we'll start with Michelson Found Animals. So they are a wicked cool nonprofit based out of the Los Angeles area, but really have a presence nationally. They're dedicated to ending pet homelessness with a social enterprise model, and they're really unlike any sort of nonprofit I've ever met. And if you haven't investigated them, I highly recommend that you do. They're really doing some cool things, including their national chip registry, microchip registry. But they also have an adoption center and pet retail places in the Los Angeles area. They are a nonprofit. They're using science, technology, and social entrepreneurship to benefit pets, and they were founded in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Amy Gilbreth is the executive director, and she's heavily involved in the LEAP program. And so it's pretty remarkable the access that you get if you join the Leap Venture Studio, and then some stuff that happens in the Leap Venture Academy. So Michelson definitely, they're based in Los Angeles, but they also have a presence nationally, and millions of pets they touch millions of pets and millions of pet owners as well. So a really cool organization. I had no clue of their impact before I joined, and I highly recommend you all as startups kind of connect with them in some way, shape, or form. Definitely sign up for their newsletter at a minimum to see what they're doing and the type of the stuff that they do. And then Kinship. Kinship is a division of Mars Petcare, and our job, our goal is to support the best new ideas that are coming out of the industry, and kind of be that platform and that central place where people can connect and create a better world for pets. And so we do that in a couple of different ways. We're incubating ideas, we're investing in startups, we're partnering with startups. And we have a big data lake that we've put together. Really a remarkable kind of startup story within a big industry, a big company within a big industry. And so Mars Petcare, for those of you that don't know, they are one of the leading pet care companies, or they are the leading pet care company in the world. 44 brands in the portfolio, including Kinship. 5 of the $10 million brands that Mars owns are pet care brands, and so just a lot of history and depth in what we do. And 60% of the dogs and cats in the developed world are fed by our products, and also we have 70,000 plus employees. Pretty huge organization, and I've been here for 8 or 9 months, and one thing that I will say is that it's a um, uh, just an amazing organization to work for, and everybody that you talk to are just the nicest people and willing to help and share the knowledge that they've gained. And same is true for everybody at um, Michelson Found Animals. Okay, so let's dive deep into the Leap Venture Academy. Feel free to chime in with questions, or if you have a question, and you can type it into the chat window. So we realize that pet care entrepreneurs like you need a lot of help everywhere, everything from mentorship to access to capital. We all know that you need access to capital, connections to people in the industry, discounted services, pilot opportunities. It is a long road, and sometimes a long and lonely road for a lot of what you guys are doing at the very early stage. And so we have tried to build this thing called Leap Venture Academy. It's essentially pre-accelerator and community building activities, a mix of webinars, pitch competitions, boot camps, meetups, you name it. We're trying to find ways to connect all of you to each other and educational resources. Events are held around the year, and will be both in person and online. And most of them, I think all of them so far, are free and open to the public. Some are invite only, but the general idea is that we're trying to create these collisions between you and other people in the industry, because we know that a rising tide raises all ships. And even if we can't have a formal relationship with some of you, we want to have these informal connections with most of you, and help to facilitate those connections. And so how do we do this? This is kind of at a high level, kind of the types of activities that we're planning, but we're always open to new ideas. And so please share them with me. Today, just on Slack, I was chatting with some people, and someone suggested a meetup in Austin, and I happen to be going there in December. So I said, let's schedule a meetup in Austin. And so, we are trying to move pretty quickly. And if you have an idea and are willing to put in a little bit of sweat equity to help set stuff up, I'm all ears. And so our planned activities, we're planning a big summit. Oh, excellent, Ilya. We should definitely connect. She says she's in. Ilya is I apologize, male or female name, I'm not sure, but we'll connect certainly in Austin. So we have a summit that we're planning next year, and that's really a place that we can celebrate pet care innovation and the future of pet care. We have a boot camp that's happening in a couple weeks, and we actually just decided recently, and I know some of you have applied, but we're going to focus on female founders for this first boot camp. We saw that there was a need for that, and so we are planning it to be pet care startups that are led. Their CEO is female, or their CEOs are female. Pitch competitions, we've already had one this year, or two this year actually, but the big one was at Super Zoo. We're planning another one at VMX in January. And then webinars, this is one of them, but as you guys I'm sure saw, we have webinars that are ongoing. Office hours, we had one yesterday, office hours with a couple of vets that answered questions about that startups had. We'll have those probably on a monthly basis with different types of people. If you guys have ideas of the type of people that you want to hold office hours, let me know and I'll go out and try to find them. But I don't think we have any office hours planned for right now. I'm thinking of holding some in a couple weeks. And then meetups, we did one meetup at Super Zoo. We'll probably do meetups around major conferences. I'll be at the Veterinary Innovation Summit in Colorado in 2 weeks, so happy to meet up with anybody there. And I'll also be in Austin for a conference as well. We'll probably do a meetup there as well. And then if anybody's ever in Boston, come hang out with me. Not Boston, that's where I used to live. In Portland, if anybody's in Portland, Oregon, come hang out with me. So these are the upcoming webinars that are coming through Leap Venture Academy. So we have one on Monday that's funding options for early stage pet care startups. We have another one next week on selecting a co-manufacturer from a startup perspective. This is very beneficial for those of you that are doing products, treats, or food. And then how to generate press for your pet care startup in October. And I just booked another one, but I haven't put it online, product management for pet care startups. And that'll be happening in November. We'll probably have a couple more in October and a couple in November. I probably will have a couple a month, essentially. Man, I'm talking a lot. I'm going to take a break right there. Peter says he's going to be in the London area. If anybody is going to be there, definitely connect with him. He's a great guy. And if you're in Boston or outside of Boston, connect with him as well. Okay, Leap Venture Studio. I imagine that a lot of you are here to learn about that. So keep the questions and comments coming in. So Leap Venture Studio, first startup-centric accelerator program to springboard innovation in the growing pet care ecosystem. What does that mean? Basically, we're a boot camp for startups in the pet care space, and you get access to some of the best pet care minds and people in the industry in the world. It's a 12-week non-residential program. We'll go a little bit more in depth as to what that means in a bit. We launched last year. We've had 12 startups go through the program across 2 cohorts. We'll now be doing 1 cohort a year every spring, so February to May-ish, in Los Angeles at the offices of RGA Ventures. And RGA Ventures is our partner in the studio program. They run it for us, but they're also a partner in the program. We'll chat a little bit more about what they bring to the table. It is an application process. The application is live on our website, and it's open to anybody across the globe. And so what do you get from us if you join? Up to $200,000 in seed funding from Leap, and that comes from the 3 different partners. A place to work for 3 months. You get an awesome services package from RGA. For those of you who don't know what RGA is, they're an internationally recognized design agency and marketing agency, branding agency. They work on the Nike account. They work on, you name it. Golden Globes, I think, was one recently that I saw that they worked on. And essentially one of the big benefits that each of the companies gets that come into the program is they get to tap the minds of RGA on a specific, 5-week project. And so a lot of companies work on their branding, their marketing, their messaging, their lead gen on their website, redesigning their website. It's really a remarkable thing that would cost most startups hundreds of thousands of dollars to do, but everybody gets one of those projects in a 5-week sprint in the middle of our accelerator program. You get access to all the minds at MFA, Mars Petcare, Kinship, and RGA. Then also our extended network, which is pretty huge given where we are. I think one of the best parts of the program is you also go through it with other startups that are doing cool things, and there are partnerships that have definitely emerged between the companies in the cohort and between the companies and alumni as well. It is pretty personalized. We work with you throughout the course of before the program, during the program, and after the program to make sure you're getting what you need. And then there's some programming, and then also, in-kind services and discounts and that kind of stuff. Thanks, Dan, for your little note. Okay, so the timeline of the studio. So this is kind of at a high level, and it really changes depending on the companies that come in and what we try to do. But generally in the first week, it's the first couple of weeks you are on the ground in LA, really working with the 3 partners, MFA, RGA, and Kinship, to figure out what your plan of action is over the course of the next couple of months. You're connecting with mentors and potential advisors throughout the industry that we bring to the table. But really the goal is to figure out what your plan of action is and what your goals are for the next 3 months, and probably even a little bit beyond. In the second month, most people are working remotely. There are weekly webinars that you can attend. You can work with mentors on key issues. You execute on that service project that I described, and then there are ongoing office hours and whatnot. So we're estimating about 10 hours a week, but it really, you get out of this what you put in. And so there are some CEOs that this is their thing, 40 hours a week, no matter what, that's what they're working on. And they can do that because they have, they've planned ahead. and other members of their team are picking up slack. And there are other members that kind of just do the 10 hours a week, and that's fine for them. There are optional meetings that do take place. Last year, a bunch of the startups really wanted to go visit the Mars Petcare headquarters in Nashville, where a lot of the nutrition brands are located, the food and nutrition brands. And so we set up a 2-day kind of I don't know what you call it, mini meeting down there where it was optional for the companies. 4 of the 6 came down. And it was a pretty cool day. They got to meet with a bunch of leaders on, regulatory issues, palatability, manufacturing, you name it. It was pretty cool. And so those are kind of the optional stuff that happens in the middle of the program. Actually, even after the program as well. We just invited a couple companies up to Portland to present to table at the Banfield Summit, which is a summit that the Banfield organization puts on every year for a select group of people. And so in the third month, you're really kind of focusing on your pitch for demo day, and that really is just like fine tuning the story and figuring out what is your story that's going to be compelling with investors, that's going to be compelling in potential sales, and then making your slides look really pretty and really nice that you can use across the board. And then we're planning for your, after demo day. For a lot of companies that come to the program, the plan is to kind of try to fundraise after the program. And so I think there's a lot of kind of focus on that. I'm talking a lot. Any questions? I'll pause there for right now. I'll send this deck also out to people, to everybody. And so you can read more in depth. I'm not going to go into each of the companies, but that we had 6 companies in our first cohort. They graduated about a year ago, and then we had 6 companies in our second cohort. They graduated, quote unquote, graduated in May of this year, and we're planning on having between 6 and 8 companies this year. And my guess is that we'll be closer to the 8 as opposed to the 6, but it all depends on the quality of startups that come into the pipeline. So what are the benefits that you get? I think it's really that Leap Venture Studio stamp of approval. If you come into the program, it helps open up doors. We can't necessarily close any of the partnerships or sales, but we will definitely get you to the table, or as much as we can, and more than you might be able to if you were not a part of this program. You get access to mentors and advisors and investors and partnerships and coaching and all that kind of stuff, and the relationship with the fellow cohort, access to the global market, and then that world-class design project from RGA. It's really a relationship that will last long after the program ends, because our success is a reflection of your success, and so we really are trying to do everything we can to make you as successful as possible. And you guys can take a look at this, and we haven't put it together for program 2, but you can get a sense of the type of stuff that we did to help startups in the first cohort. And so there was a lot of marketing stuff that happened, some palatability and flavoring, packaging, and there's a bunch of stuff that we've done across each company. It was really remarkable for me. I joined in between cohort 1 and cohort 2, and it was really remarkable for me to see just how many people come to the table to try to help these companies. It was pretty cool to see, especially at a bigger organization like Mars Petcare. And so what are we looking for? I wish that there was like a science to this. It's really more of an art, but I think at a high level, we're looking for entrepreneurs that are passionate about what they're trying to solve, that have understand kind of the game, this game of entrepreneurship and startup and finding investment, that are coachable, and I would say the one big thing is are these people that we want to work with for the next 2 to 5 years? In my previous job as running a fund and running an accelerator program, I would routinely see people who had great ideas, but just you could tell it was going to be not great working with them, whether it's their attitude or their temper or whatever. And I think Mars and MFA and kinship, we are sort of like a family, and so we really want to, people that we want to that we can work with and that we like. And I think we've actually done a good job of solving for that in our first two cohorts. In terms of companies, I think it's typical. We're looking for companies that have the potential to grow, a unique idea, a team that is capable of delivering. But I think also a real big point, and we called it out in our application, a team that is committed to diversity and inclusion. And so just call it to that on the application. Really give some thought to that. And if you are not a diverse team, what are you going to do to become a diverse team? And if anybody wants to talk about that now or later, I'm happy to kind of help you think through that. And so anyway, most of the companies that we've brought in, I would say like 75% have a product in the market with traction, with revenue. And then there's like, that 10% or 15% that like have a lot of traction and revenue, are looking to come into the program just for the connections and aren't coming in for the money. And then we have, maybe like 5% of the companies that come in are, MVP stage, but we're really betting on the entrepreneur. Maybe they've done something like this before, or we're betting on the market. And so, but I would say like most of the companies that come in, product, revenue, traction, for sure. And then, business models, we're open to B2B and B2C. And ideally it's not single founder teams. I think really the big thing is that you won't be able to take full advantage of the program if you're a single founder. And then also I think it says a lot about a startup that as to whether they can attract a co-founder or not. Can they have they already sold their vision to someone else to bring them onto their team? And then the last thing is the grasp on reality. I think we all are looking for that. The timeline, so applications are open now. They close the end of October. I would say that there's how should I say this? I think you should put your best case scenario forward, and I would say that for most people that means waiting closer to the end of the application period to submit their application, because they might be able to increase their traction numbers or revenue or whatever. My guess is that most people on the application committee won't start looking at applications until October 20th or so. And so, just an FYI in terms of planning. And then we'll invite probably 20 to 25 startups to pitch to us sometime in November, maybe going into early December. And then the goal is to kind of select startups in mid-December. That could bleed into late December, early January, because with the holidays, it just throws everybody's timeline off. And the program is slated to start February 10th. The goal is that we want everything signed, all the paperwork done, by middle of January, so that we can hit the ground running in February. And then we're planning a demo day on May 7th. And actually, just an asterisk on there is most likely we're going to do that demo day in New York City as opposed to Los Angeles. So just a heads up that we're still working on the details of that, but just an FYI. The focus areas, and these are subject to change, but these are kind of high level, the type of things that we are looking for. And if you don't see yourself on this list, that does not mean that we are not interested in you. I think these are just kind of when we surveyed our greater network as to the type of things that they're interested in. And this is the type of stuff that they came back with. But clearly we're looking for companies that are doing cool things across the board and have innovative business models. And so yeah. Dan, will I have office hours during the application process? Yeah, I'm working on that right now. I will likely have yes, some 20-minute sessions that people can sign up for, and then I'll do probably 1 or 2 group office hours as well, where people can just like come in and ask me a question and then leave. Um, I'll let you know. Probably we'll post those next week at some point. And so most common errors and problems that we see, you guys can read through all this, but essentially it's a lot of kind of overstating what you have and lack of understanding of the market and what's at play. And so a lot of this stuff we expect from early stage startups. So take it all with a grain of salt. And um, but I think that we don't want to hear from startups saying if we just had the money we would be a $1 billion company type of thing, right? So yeah, anyway, we'll move forward. So the leadership team, so Amy is the executive director at Michelson Found Animals, and Brett Yates is the chief of staff. He's also heavily involved once the accelerator program goes on. And Phil Kim you'll see around. But all three of them are on the application committee, and we'll be reviewing applications and helping kind of decide who comes in. And then from our side, it's myself, and then Ben Jacobs. And Ben was the founder and CEO of Whistle before it was acquired by Mars Petcare. And Winston Wong is the head of, oh, that's wrong. He's the head of Labs. So we have a new thing called Kinship Labs, and he's the head of that. And he was also one of the people that founded the Leap Venture Studio program. And then the RGA team, which is just remarkable, out of LA. Definitely look up these people. And I would say Dylan is probably going to be the main contact for people in the program, along with Jess as well. Just really great people with a lot of experience in accelerator programs and incubation and whatnot. And this is just something that I put together just so you all can kind of understand. And again, this is kind of like 75% of the time. This is probably going to be right, but if you're up to 15K in revenue, most likely programming in the Leap Venture Academy is right for you. If you have between 0 and 250K in recurring revenue a month, the Leap Venture 2 is probably right for you. But again, like I said, this is it all depends on what you're trying to get out of the program. And an example would be we had a company in the last cohort that was doing millions of dollars in revenue a year, but they really wanted that access to our expertise and came into the program, and I think we delivered for them. What else can I say? I think that's the end of my presentation. So feel free to let's chat, talk. One thing I would say before I wrap up here is if you're coming to the program just for the money, this is not right for you. We really are looking for people that want to be community members and want to learn about this industry and how it works and make those connections and also give back. And so if you're just looking as this is a funding source, I would say there are other better options for that. But we really want people that are excited about what we're building and want to be a part of it. And we'll go from I'll stop there. But anyway, questions.
Hey, Peter's here.
Hey.
So I know that Leap and Kinship are growing, and so the numbers will probably be different this year. But generally, how many applicants do you get to the program?
That's a great question. So I'll tell you that for the pitch competition, we got 50. I think last year, I want to say the number was like 100 or so people submitted applications, but there were a bunch of people that didn't. It was a different process where there were a bunch of people that we didn't have apply, and we just based on prior relationships. So this time around, we're sending everybody through the application. My gut tells me we'll get somewhere between, I don't know, 100 to 150. Like I would say, we'll get somewhere in the 100 to 150. But I think of those, maybe 70 or 75 will be pretty competitive. That's my gut. That's what my gut tells me.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Who else has questions out there?
Hi, Sad. This is Dan from PointPad.
Hey, Dan, how are you?
I'm good. So I have a question about traction. I have already asked it before, but let's say for companies with MVP, I'm checking like Sniff Spot that was in the last cohort, and I'm just wondering like what kind of traction they had at the time of application.
Sure. Yeah, I actually don't recall again because I came in right before the process. But I would say that certainly they're an example of a company that was on the earlier stage of development. But he was a second-time co-founder. He had raised with his previous company, millions of dollars, and had executed on that. And it was an idea that we thought was pretty compelling, and so I think that's probably the reason why he was selected to join the program, is that we really believed in that. And so I actually don't know the numbers of where he was at. My guess is that he was at the thousands of dollars a month in revenue, as opposed to the $15,000 or $50,000 a month in revenue. I'm pretty sure he was at the revenue stage, but I just don't know. But yeah, certainly compared to the others, that company was on the earlier side.
I'm not sure if he was actually at revenue stage. They still have about 1,000 installs in app stores for Android. So not sure if they still have a significant revenue, but it's just checking what kind of things you expect, and also what kind of progress they made through the last half a year, and
Sure.
probably months after the program and 3 months during the program. So
Yeah. So I don't know how much I'm allowed to share, but I can share that they are still growing, and they're. Say again.
just applying information, just no details. Just
Yeah,
I'm just
I mean, I think so.
useful to have a program for early stage companies. That's
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good question for him. He's on the Slack channel, so you might want to just ask him as well. For those of you who don't know, we have a Slack group that's open to anybody. But I think that what he would say, he is committed to growing the company organically, and I think the benefit that he got out of the program is that the connections to certain people within the Mars Petcare ecosystem, that partnerships that have or will eventually come to fruition. And then I think the other benefit is the RGA packages of like redesigning his website and the flow and that kind of stuff.
Hey, Assad, it's Dan from Native Pet. Thanks for putting this on. It's really helpful.
Yeah, great.
Just quick question. Obviously, founders who come into the program probably have like a million different things they could prioritize and work on during the 12-week program. So just curious, if there's any structure around like what founders prioritize, and do they talk to the LEAP team to kind of come up with a plan for what they want to get done and how they want to execute it over the 12 weeks?
100%. Yeah. And I guess I didn't mention that, but prior to the program starting, you're going to get sick of us already. With the, you'll probably have, introductory calls and kind of deep dives on your strategy with at least the three members of the three different teams. And I think part of what the goal is that first week is, is putting you in front of other people in the industry and hearing that feedback on your strategy, and then coming up with a plan together. I think that, for most founders, there are kind of, three things that they want to work on that are pretty substantial. And for most people, the investor story and that kind of stuff is one of them. But yeah, we will be working with you probably, as soon as we get the indication that we want to work together, whether the paperwork has been signed or not, I think we start working together and whatnot. So, I would guess at the latest, if people are selected, January, we'll start having those calls so we can hit the ground running in February.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you.
Hi, Azad. It's Maurizio from
Hey.
Bountiful.
Hello. We're chatting next week, I think, right?
Yeah. And tomorrow too, maybe.
Oh, tomorrow. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
I want. I would like to ask if you invest also in Italian entities, because we have incorporated our company in Italy. But today we working in LA, and so I want to know if we need an US entity for the investment.
Sure.
Uh,
No, that's a great question. We get that a lot, and I've gotten that a lot in my past accelerator program and investment work as well. I think so. We have invested in two international startups. One out of I believe Mexico, and the other one out of Spain. Um, I think the big question for you is where you want to raise your future funds from. And so, if you're thinking of getting funds from North American investors, then it makes sense to make an American entity and put the IP in there, because I think a lot of North American investors will want that protection, or that but if you're looking at European investors or elsewhere, it would maybe make sense. I mean, I think that's all part of the negotiation that you have. I will say that it does provide challenges the timeline slows down in terms of transferring funds and getting paperwork and all that kind of stuff together when it's entities that are outside the US. It's also tough when for those of you that are LLCs or anything other than a C corp. It's also very hard to that timeline will slow down. So, but yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, Mauricio, and for everybody, like, if we like you and if we like the company and we see a future, we will figure out a way to work together.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Who else?
I'll pick up. This is Dan again. I have a question about the, I'd say, competition with Kinship or with Mars. So we're actually worried in particularly. So as you remember, we started as a kind of platform to connect or to let shelters to list their pets, but then we actually pivoted. So now we do a pet register and a bunch of other things, but this is what Mikkelsen does. So in fact, we're competing, but we add another features which the thing Mikkelsen doesn't do and may not be able to do in the coming future, but we're still competing with them. So how do you see this scenario I would say, evolve, and there would be a conflict of interest too. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, so I think I don't want to speak for Michelson and whatnot, but I think that in general, I would say that for companies like Mars and probably Michelson as well, we know that this market is expanding rapidly and things are moving very fast, and so I think that there is a lot of room for new entrants to grab market share, right? And so I think that if that was a serious issue that you had, in terms of like them stealing IP or anything like that, then let's have that discussion and whatnot. I think at the end of the day, if they or we believe in your model and we see the traction that you have, we want to support the most impactful startups that are making a big difference in pet care. And I think that even if you just look at the Mars Pet Care portfolio, there's how many different type of dog food brands that are competing with each other, right? So, yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but let me pose that question to Amy and her team and see what they say.
Awesome.
Can you Slack that message to me?
Yes.
Thank you.
I mean, Mars owns the 2 largest veterinary corporate-owned chains on the planet, right?
Yeah.
Who used to ostensibly compete with each other. So
Exactly. Yeah. Who else?
Can you go back to the industries one more time that you guys are interested in?
Sure. Ilya, sorry, I assumed that you were a.
Oh, no worries. It happens all the time. So, yeah, full-fledged male, but my wife's a co-founder, so
Oh, nice.
we got both sides.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm kind of working on developing a platform to connect breeders with end customers. I was on the call yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and so do you think that kind of fits within what you guys are looking for?
I think so. We're not. I don't think so. I think breeders is an interesting category, and so I'm new to pet care and want to. But people keep on saying that breeders is an interesting thing. I think that Royal Canin, which is a big division of Mars Pet Care, a lot of their customers are breeders, and so I think there's certainly interest in that from generally from a Mars Pet Care perspective, and I think at the end of the day, yeah, if you make the compelling business case, I think that there would be interest. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks for
if not for Elite Veterinary Studio, there could be interest. Thanks, Peter, for that. Just from Mars Pet Care directly.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting data on both ends, on the breeder end and customer end, because it kind of gives you a pipeline to all the new end customers that are, just getting new pets. So it's always good to get them at the early stage. So I think there's opportunity for partnership.
Yeah, and I would say that you're not the first one in this Elite Venture Academy kind of world that I've seen trying to solve this issue in some way, shape, or form. And so, it might be even worth, and I can try to track those other people down. Like, one of the goals that one of the things that I love about kind of dealing with this early stage is like, can we combine a couple of you so that you're a stronger candidate, whether for Leap or for investment or for partnership down the line. And so, yeah. So definitely join the Slack channel and definitely, if you're interested in that, hit me up and I'll try to connect you. And Peter just posted it, so thank you, Peter.
Sounds good. Thanks.
What else? And I should say also there are other funding opportunities out there, and so you should definitely be looking at other. Oh, sorry.
Excuse me, Alison. What's your maybe I forgot this, but what's your investment system? Convertible note or?
It depends on where you're at and what you're. If you have a round open, we might join that round. If I'd say most of the time it's probably a convertible note for the next round, with warrant coverage later on. But I would say that's I wasn't here for the first cohort, but I think for the second cohort that was the majority of the cases.
Thank you.
Yeah. It just depends on like what you have open, if you closed something recently, or that kind of stuff. What else? Oh, so I was going to say there are some other funding options out there. The Purina, Nestle Purina stuff is going on right now. We just added some information on our website on the resources tab, and I'm going to try to keep that updated with other people that are, or thinking about the pet care space. I know Dan and I have been talking about a project on where can we crowdsource pet-friendly investors. So we might work on that maybe in the next couple months. I don't want to keep people, if let me know if you have more questions. There, awesome. I'll send out this recording to people, and I'll send you the deck as well, and you can find me on Slack. I probably will have some office hours in the next couple months, or certainly before the application is done. Definitely please review your application in terms of grammar and all that kind of stuff. That kills me more than most other people. But I would say each person of the team reviews the application differently. And so, for me, I usually, I've mostly already met a lot of you, so I kind of go right to the deck first, and then I watch the video if you guys have a video, to get a sense of who you are, and then I'll read through the application. But there are some applications that, just looking at it, I can kind of tell that they're not going to be a good fit, and that that could be because you can tell that they didn't spend time reviewing, the simple things like spell check or grammar in their application, or they, you can tell that they rushed through the application in like 2 seconds and didn't really give thought to answers. So yeah. Yumina says, what do you expect to see in a deck? I think it's a typical investor deck, and I can send around some links, but 12 to 15 slides, on problem, what, how you're solving it, the market, the competition, the team, maybe some of your pricing or go-to-market strategy, and then you can always end it with what you're hoping to get out of this program. Oh, the other thing is, like, when people reuse decks or answers from other competitions, it always makes me laugh. So I've seen a lot of Techstar decks in our applications in the past.
One more question.
Sure, yeah.
Is like about application. What do you actually look more for? Like YC looks for very short and precise answers. Some kind of programs look for more explanatory, let's say extended answers. So what are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the diversity of the application committee is just like everybody's looking for something different. I think I really focus on team, and if I like if I get the sense that I like this team and that I can work with them, and then clearly the product and all that kind of stuff. I'll then also look at for me, like, it's even like little things. Are people do they have a website, or do they have a Gmail? Do they have is it up to date? Has their Twitter handle or their whatever, are they producing content? Are they trying to come across as bigger than they actually are? Do they have realistic kind of projections, and that, not that they're going to go from like 0 to 25 million in 1 year type of thing. There are all these like little things that you can see when reading an application. I feel like that might be a cool webinar at some point, where I kind of go through an application and live and speak what I'm thinking. Maybe Dan, for your application, that's what we'll do.
Awesome.
But I wish that it was more of a science, but everybody looks for something different. And the truth of the matter is that we have so many competitive applications, like and there's we'll probably bring in 25 to pitch, but like you could easily bring in 40, I'm guessing, because they're just like, people are doing some really cool shit, and like there's at least for me, like, I want to support all of you as much as I can. So yeah, it's hard. It's a hard thing, what we do. Not harder than what you guys are doing.
I'm just curious as well. Is it like, what's your kind of split between priorities for the program? Is it more like to develop community and let's say help projects, or more like a pipeline sourcing for future acquisitions? Like,
Yeah, that's great. No, that's a great question. I'm not going to speak for for Michelson or RGA as to why they do this. I mean, I think that, from the Mars Petcare perspective, I think, certainly developing relationship with entrepreneurs at an early level so that we could potentially invest later on or potentially acquire. I think that's a great outcome. But, that's like I don't know how the chances that you want to put on that, right? But I think it's developing those relationships, and maybe at some point you'll want to come and work for this company, after you've sold your first startup. Maybe there's by you connecting to some of the people in the Mars Pet Care ecosystem, you're spreading your entrepreneurship I don't know yeah, vibes, yeah, to them, and that helps our company. And I think it's also, it's our way of kind of giving back and supporting the ecosystem. And I think the bottom line is that we know as the biggest pet care company in the world is that we want to see a huge impact in making a better world for pets. And it's not just us that should be doing this, it's all of you, right? I think that, like, we really believe in that mission, and, like, can we support you? Because I think a company has to be a certain size for Mars to be interested in it, right? But there are literally thousands of other companies out there that are doing, whatever, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million revenue, and they're having a great impact as well. And so, I think that, yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
kind of. Thank you.
So just a couple more minutes. If there are any other questions, let me know.
I did see that you had a post in there, and forgive me if you already answered this, I might have missed it. But do you have office hours prior to the selection process to review the pitch to ensure that we are providing everything that you guys are looking for?
So I guess I'll put it. I will be having office hours, either group or one-on-one, and it's not like I can give feedback to some degree, but it's not. I think it's more like, if you have a specific question on a specific part of your deck or a particular section of the application or whatever, as opposed to reviewing the whole deck, I won't have the time to do that, if that makes sense.
It does. I just want to make sure that I want to make sure that we're providing all of the content. And I did to follow the traditional pitch style, but just want to make sure that we're providing the content that you guys are looking for, but we're not missing any major holes.
Sure.
And then two, obviously, is there any areas of focus that we need to make sure that we are hyper focused on that spot, because that's going to be the difference maker. That's
sure.
really
yeah. No, and that makes complete sense. I mean, I think that honestly, if you answer all the questions in the application, and some are optional and some are required, and you put a deck together, and you have a video of the product, I mean, I think you're 99% there, because it's pretty exhaustive, and we do that for a reason. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to take a look. I mean, I think the other option is also for you guys to look at each other's decks as well, and just ask on the Slack channel, does anybody have 15 or 20 minutes to review my deck? Because if someone else doesn't understand what you're doing and where you're going, then we probably won't either.
understood.
All right, if there's any more, I'll take one more question, then I'm gonna can it there. But anybody else with one outstanding question? All right.
Hassan, I'll just say thank you. Appreciate the time on this.
Yeah, no worries, Hector. Thank you for joining. I appreciate everybody for joining. I know on the East Coast it's pretty late, so, and certainly in Russia it's pretty late as well, or maybe early, I guess is the right, and Italy as well. So thank you all. Oh, I guess you're in Los Angeles, Maurizio. But thank you all. Hit me up on Slack or email me wherever this email is. I'll try to get back to you, but certainly try to get feedback from each other, and then come join some of our other webinars. And thank you all so much for joining. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.